All right, Adrienne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here, Tom.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. So, for those of you who haven't met Adrienne yet, Adrienne Dorison teaches high achieving professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, and athletes how to create the habits of success so that they can achieve their goals and find their personal freedom and fulfillment. Adrienne teaches her clients how to overcome the blocks that hold them back, helps them identify what they really want in life, and shows them how to leverage their strengths so that their success and freedom becomes inevitable. So that sounds awesome, Adrienne. So tell us, how you got started with your business.
Yeah, so I had a corporate day job for a while, and my background is not in business specifically, actually. Had a undergrad in wildlife conservation, which is a really random thing to get your bachelor's degree in. And then I worked for a little bit in the working world, and then I went back to grad school, got my master's degree in uh, business and forest economics, which is also another really random thing. And so I was in the corporate world for a while, and I was a supply chain analyst doing logistics and business type things for a large paper company. So that's where the forestry ties in there. But I started feeling like I knew it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wasn't super passionate about looking ahead and seeing those VP jobs, and I was like, that's not really what I want to do either. So I started blogging on the side. I've always been really interested in personal development and really high performance. As an athlete, I've always been interested in that. So I started blogging late last year, and then in January of this year, 2015, I decided to turn it more into a business where I would work one-on-one with people, helping them achieve their goals, helping them build a business, and achieve other goals that they have in their life. But that happened really quickly. I started the blog, and it kind of organically turned into that. Then I grew the business over those 6 months, and then in June of this year, I was able to quit the day job, quit the corporate job. And so that was a big goal, and I did it pretty quickly, but I just knew that I wasn't meant for the corporate world forever. I'm not sure that anyone is, but I think that I knew I wasn't going to stay there forever.
That's awesome. So you basically started your business around January, and by June you'd quit. So like less than 6 months. So that's amazing. And a lot of people might even think, well, I think that's not possible for me. I couldn't do that. I mean, how did you do that? And is that possible for other people to do?
Yeah, and it's important to know that I didn't know what the timeline was. There really wasn't like, oh, by this date I have to quit, but there was this desire and motivation to get out of there, really, to not be at the day job. So I think it's possible for anyone. It just, everyone's story is going to look very different, and I think it's important to know that, but to really have the belief in yourself that anything could be possible, and at least believing that it's not impossible. So hopefully my story will give people that watch your show that understanding. And so what did I do? I did work a lot. I hustled. I put myself out there before I was ready. I think that a lot of people are waiting for this answer. They're waiting for a certain credential, or they're waiting to have all the answers, and you're never going to feel like fully ready. And so I just started putting myself out there. I started testing things. I started offering free sessions to people. So I'm a coach consultant for people in the business world who are trying to start a business or who have a business and want it to be more successful. And so, I was putting out free sessions because I couldn't honestly charge someone yet until I knew that I could get them results. So I'd gotten results for people in other capacities in my life and in my corporate job, but I wanted to apply it to my business first. And then once I was able to get results for people for free, then I started charging, and I started thinking about my positioning in the marketplace and how I wanted to position my brand, and then putting those types of prices on my services. So really understanding what I do and what the value is around that. And I worked a lot. It was like, I try to tell people this isn't like some get-rich-quick scheme that I'm going to tell you about, because there is a lot of personal branding involved in starting your own business, but then also there was a lot of work. So especially working the full-time job, I was waking up really early to do my workouts because that was still important to me. And then I was working lunch breaks, I was working evenings, I was working weekends, trying to grow and build this business. But I was consistent, which I think is super important when you're starting and growing a business. And I was taking action before I really knew the answer. I was creating clarity through the action that I was taking, and that's something that I see a lot of people not doing. They're consuming a lot, but not implementing, and so that was key for sure to do it that quickly.
That's awesome. So how do you get yourself to implement on a daily basis? I mean, what do you do to either organize your time, organize your tasks, or just get stuff done?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand tasks that are like busy versus tasks that are really important to grow your business. So focusing on income generating tasks and being able to decide what those really are. A lot of, because I had the full-time job and because none of us are really feeling like we have this excess of time, maybe that might be, a lot of people's issue that they either don't have enough time or they don't have enough money, right? So you have to create it. If it's a priority for you, you have to create it. So I started waking up at 4:30 so that I could go do my workouts in the morning. And so it's like doing the things that maybe some other people aren't willing to do. So you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to do to, achieve this desired result? So I started waking up really early and being really intentional with my day. It wasn't, haphazardly doing tasks anymore, which that can lead you down a rabbit trail of never finishing your to-do list. And so every morning what I do is, I do my workout, do my morning routine, but before I get my day started, and this is still true to this day, is I write down my goals for the next 90 days. So I write down those big goals. What are those big goals that I know I'm working towards achieving? And then I write down what I call my most important mission for the day, and it's like my MIM, most important mission. So it's selecting one thing that is the most important thing I need to get done today, right? And so when you're able to identify one thing that you need to get done, that's going to help you make those decisions about what's really important versus like what's just keeping me busy in this business. And so that's something that a lot of people struggle with. There's a never-ending to-do list, so which one do I pick? You have to zero in on what's that most important mission, the income-generating task. Like if it doesn't get done, things are going to start unraveling tomorrow, right? So that is what I do, and I focus on that one thing for that day, whether it's a big project or whether it's one simple task. That's the thing that absolutely has to get done first, and so I always do that thing first. And then, yes, of course, some days I move on and I do other things if there's time. So that is a big one.
That's awesome. That's such a great point there to, focus on the one thing, the most important thing for the day. Because if it's the most important thing, then there's nothing more important than it, right? I mean,
right.
Like literally, it's so basic of a principle, but when you apply it every day, if every day you got done the most important thing on your list, by the end of the year you have 365 most important things done, you'd be so much further ahead if you only did that one task. And obviously, There's more time in the day than to do more than just one task.
Exactly. So like just by, and it's something for business owners and entrepreneurs or anyone to really hone in on how to make those decisions, and that's a simple thing that you can start doing every day to like really, work that decision-making muscle. Like making a decision for what is the most important thing today, and sure, if you have time, do the other things, but your to-do list is never going to end. And so when we focus on this really long to-do list, we get like overwhelmed, we get frustrated, we feel defeated at the end of the day because we didn't finish it anyways. So it's like, you do that most important mission, you can tell yourself like mission accomplished, you feel really good, it's a win for the day, and it helps you stay motivated, honestly, to do more tasks.
Absolutely, definitely. Another thing you mentioned is that, you set your goals for 90 days. Is there, somewhere you learned that, or I'm curious about like why 90-day goals?
Yeah, so I've read a lot of different things. I'm not sure exactly where I specifically, zeroed in on this one, or why I narrowed it down to 90 days, but I'm either usually working on, and I do break them down even smaller, so I think that baby steps are key when you're like working out your goals. So like every week I'm doing my top 3 things that I need to implement, or my 3 intentions for the week, and every most important mission should align with those 3 intentions as well. So, breaking it down into smaller baby steps is huge, but the human brain actually cannot think in terms of goal setting beyond 90 days. When you think of a 1-year goal, that's great, but it's really difficult to take action daily towards something that's 1 year away. And so I like to term like your 1 year, your 5 year, those are more your vision, but things will probably redirect and squiggle before you get to that specific goal. Whereas within 90 days, your brain can understand that. It's close enough where you can take daily action to, you know what pieces you need to do and you can break it down further, but it's not so far away that you procrastinate, because that's Parkinson's law. Like the more time you have, the more time you will take to, your time will contract and expand with the deadlines you give yourself. So set those 90-day goals so that it's within your human brain's logic of thinking that, it's close enough that I can set smaller chunks. And like I said, I chunk it down again into like months and then weeks. And then days. So really creating those baby steps all along the way. But that's why, because our brain can't process it beyond that.
Yeah, that's so true. I've noticed that in my own life. I mean, I used to set 5-year goals and 10-year goals and year goal, and even like now setting a goal for a year away now seems like so strange to me, because like you said, like my mind can't even get my head around it. I mean, what I can accomplish in a year is so much more than what I can write down on paper, and I have no idea. And like you said, there's the squiggles. Like things come up, new projects come up, new opportunities come up, and you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to, in my experience, be totally open to those new opportunities and not be so dedicated to your 1-year goal or 5-year goal that you forget to take advantage of the opportunities right in front of you.
Totally. So that kind of allows you to squiggle and allows you to make more changes within the 90 days, as well as like, not being able to, think beyond that, and so that's, like I said, just more of your vision, but allowing that to move and adjust with you is super important, I think.
Definitely. I think the other thing for me about having shorter goals, like 90-day goals, is that, like you said, it just allows you to get super focused and like hustle, because I know, okay, if I only have 90 days to get this done, like I have to get it done now. I can't put it off till next week. You know what I mean? Whereas if it's like you said, like the Parkinson's law, if I have like a year-long goal, it's like, well, that's not such a big deal. I can worry about that next month.
Exactly.
And you put it off and you procrastinate.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I want to write a book this year. It's like, okay, well now it's December and I haven't written the book. So you could probably get it done in those 4 weeks if you really hustled and did it, right? So that's just, to maximize and allow yourself to shift better and do the things that you do really want to do, set better goals, then break it down smaller, but still keep those 1 year, 5 year, like keep them in mind, but allow them just to be more of visions to keep you going.
Right, and not like your daily focus, which should be on what you need to get done.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. That's huge.
That's great. So I know you have some history with supply chain management and logistics. Do you think that kind of business background is what helped you succeed, or were there other skills and things that you had to learn along the way?
I think that it does, but I think, I think my mind always just processes things now in this mindset, because I did go through lots of certifications and trainings to think more efficiently. So, the Lean Six Sigma, that's all the certifications that I've been through, and things like thinking about what's going to be the most time effective, cost effective. So I'm always like looking for that process, how that process works, and kind of picking apart processes in that way. But I think that this is like the Lean Six Sigma. There's a book called like something about Lean Six Sigma for first graders, like how it was invented in first grade, because it really was. Like it's really about like how to do things easiest, right? Like how to make it the simplest process to get the maximum benefits. And it's like thinking like a first grader and asking those questions. So even in business, like one of the things in Lean Six Sigma is like the 5 why analysis. And so you don't just ask why for the top level, but then you ask why again. And then when you get that answer, you ask why again and again. And so it's like literally that's like kindergarten mentality, but it leads you to the real root cause or the why. You could do this for anything in your business, like why are you doing it this way? And why, and why, and why, and leading you to either uncover why you maybe need to switch processes or really lead to the root of why you're doing something well or where there's opportunity for improvement. So yes, I think that my background in that has helped me think differently and think more effectively for my business and for my clients. But I think I've always been, I don't know, blessed or cursed with like this like go-getter, high achieving, like motivated for the things that I'm super excited about. But there's maybe negatives involved in that too, because it's hard for me to turn off, but I think it's a balance, and it's going to be different for everyone. Like, what is your passion? And I think anyone, if you're working towards your passion, can get really excited and motivated about that thing. You just have to find it and allow it to come into your life. So I think it's a combination of just genetics and upbringing. Definitely a lot of stuff from my upbringing and my background, my career in supply chain, and then my athletics, my experience in sports and athletics. Like, that to me has been a very strong indicator of how I run my business, because I run my business very consistently, and I run it even when things are uncomfortable, I do them anyways, and things that challenge me. And so I think that that's definitely a discipline learned from playing sports. And so that can be, something different for someone else. But for me, when other people aren't showing up, or when other people aren't taking risks, or when other people aren't willing to move through the uncomfortable things that happen to create that change, like, I'm willing to do those, because that's part of what my goal is. It's part of the results, and that's something I learned from playing sports.
Right, like in sports, I mean, if it hurts, it's like, so what? You just, you deal with it, right? Unless you have like a broken leg and you literally can't get out there, and you're going to go out and play, right?
Exactly, and you're going to train. It's also about the training. Like, yes, you're going to show up on game day. You're going to play no matter what. You're going to go your hardest, even when it hurts, because that's usually where you're creating the most change. You're making the most impact is when it does hurt. That's how you know, like, maybe I'm winning, right? But on training days, and I see this a lot in entrepreneurship, like people that are like, oh, if it doesn't feel right, then you shouldn't do it, or if it doesn't flow as easily, then it's probably wrong. And I'm like, no, and that's just because of my background with training. If it's going to lead you to the result that you want, if you know that it's aligned with that result, then you do it, even if it hurts, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's like totally out of your box. And that's the same thing with athletics. You show up every single day, even when it hurts, even when, not hurts in a bad way, but hurts like, you're going on a 10-mile run. That's probably going to hurt at some point, but you're going to do it anyway if the result you want is being achieved by doing those trainings. So it's important to keep that in check, but do things even when they don't feel super comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, there's always going to be, even if you're doing a business as your complete passion, like if you love to write books and that's all you want to do is you just love it and it's your absolute passion, there's still going to be other tasks and things that might not be your passion, that you might not be super excited about, but you have to do it in order to make, your career work, Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, like, at first, and sometimes when you do these things more often, they will become more comfortable. And that's the same thing with sports. Like, at first, I, hadn't really done video or webinars or things like that, because in your normal life, in your corporate life, like, you don't really do a lot of that, right? Unless you're on FaceTime with your dad. But like, it wasn't something that I was super comfortable with at first. And so I had to put myself out there. It was uncomfortable at first, but I didn't let it stop me from doing them, because I knew that was going to help create visibility, help people connect with me. And now I love doing them. Like, now I love, doing something like this, or doing my own webinar, or like new apps like Periscope where it's video, like all those things are fine for me now, but it's really just getting out there and trying those things that are going to help you reach the results that you want. You're going to have to do things you maybe don't love doing at first, but you might learn to love them. Absolutely. It's so true. It's almost like you have to like love the result you're going for more than all the pain, the obstacles and struggles that come along the way. Absolutely.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. Love the result and then stay focused on that.
And also, I think it's about like who you become as well. I mean, have you noticed that with yourself, with your clients, that when you go through those challenges, the struggles, those obstacles, that you just become a better person and it changes your entire outlook on life?
Yeah, I mean, in every aspect of your life, just like you said, like really becoming a better person, because people look to me for advice on other things, which is I don't take that very lightly, so it makes me want to be a better person. People are watching me, and I think that that's really important and inspiring. And so when you're able to do the things that you want to do really well, that inspires other people, and it's like this daisy chain of growing really awesome humans. And so I think that, yeah, it definitely changes you and who you are, and you're going to feel better about yourself when you go through and do those things. You're going to feel better about yourself when you do the things that were hard. Like, that's why I tell people, like, it shouldn't all be really easy work, because it wouldn't really feel that awesome if everything just came really easily. Like, there's a lot of not pride, but you can feel really proud about doing really hard work and being successful, or even just trying. Like, even if, the only failure is just not trying at all. Failure is just a stepping stone to your success. Like, you're going to fail, right? So just accept that. But you'll feel really good that you tried, regardless of how the outcome turns out.
Absolutely. And when I look back at my life and I look, like my most fondest memories, the memories that really stick out, it's usually like hard times. Like, I remember soccer, my favorite soccer game I played in high school was the worst game ever. It was like raining, it was pouring so hard, you could barely see halfway across the field, everyone was slipping around. But, looking back, it was the most fun, enjoyable experience, because, like you said, it was so challenging, it was so hard. There was so much struggle that went into that game that it creates this memory that's just like, I'll never forget it.
Yeah,
and I think it's the same way in business.
Fizzles. Yeah, I do. I think the pain goes away after a while. You don't remember the pain as much. Same thing. Like, for me, half Ironmans. I do half Ironmans. I'm a triathlete. Those hurt. Like, when I'm doing them. Like, my body physically hurts. My mind, like, it's a mind game of pushing through, and you can bring that to your business, because there's going to be certain times that are really challenging in your business, but the people who are successful are the ones who do push through those things, because there's going to be obstacles. We have to expect that, but continue on, and then you can look back and you can use those as like your scar, your war stories that help other people, get through their experiences. So, like, recently I paid off $45,000 worth of debt in 6 months, and so there was a lot of sacrifice and pain involved in that. There's not pain on my face now, because, like, it's done, right? Like, it's done, it's in the past, and now I can share that story with people and move forward with it, and always look back with good memories about it, like how good that feels, but it was sacrificial during the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was just going to ask you, do you have any of those, horror stories or, bad experiences that you went through that, looking back now, you feel so much better about?
Yeah, so definitely the debt, for sure, was a big one, because I wanted to pay off that debt really quickly, and I just made the commitment to do it, and I got really focused and was pouring pretty much all of my income beyond my, like, survival expenses to that debt. And so there was a lot of challenging days where, when money comes in, you just want to go and spend it somewhere else, not on your debt repayment. But that was a big goal of mine. So I think, like, staying really focused on that goal was what brought me through it. But it was, it was not easy, and I never tell people that it was easy, but it's possible for anyone who's willing to make that commitment. And so that would be probably the biggest thing. The other thing was kind of, challenging when and now it's kind of a story, was when I was leaving my corporate job. I wasn't hiding that I had this side business at all. I was still writing my blog, and, I had a website where people could find my business and things like that. And I had a VP call me and say that they had saw my blog and they read such and such articles, and that they were wondering what my intentions were, and what that was, was I planning to leave? Was that my 2-week notice? Whatever. And it wasn't my 2-week notice. I had written the blog like months ago. But, that was a really challenging time to be still at the corporate job and be coaching on the side and have to kind of deal with a really, now negative environment in my workplace where I was all the time, and they knew I was not happy and ready to leave. And so that was challenging at the time. Definitely worked through that and kind of just did my job, and I had my notice in place, and now I can look back and I can also share that horror and war story with my clients or other people of how they get through that kind of stuff, and how that's not the end of the world. When we're like in it, it feels like the end of the world, usually, those challenging times, but it's not, and now I can look back and say that was the best thing that could have happened to me, was for someone to approach me, because I may have dragged out leaving, a little bit longer, but for someone to like really call me out on it, that's honestly what I needed to have happen, even though it was really scary at the time.
Absolutely. It's kind of like that kick in the butt that you need. Like, you don't want it, it's going to hurt, but then you get it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad that happened, because
exactly.
You're pushing forward to succeed and move further.
Yeah, I needed it. So I was glad it happened afterwards, but it was an awkward conversation or two along the way.
That's awesome. Well, you shared some amazing stuff with us today, Adrienne. I really appreciate it. Before you go, tell us if people can find out more about you and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me here. Thank you, Tom. And you can find me at adriennedorison.com. That is my website. That's the best place to find me. Another place you can find me, I have a free community on Facebook. It's called Society of Self-Mastery. And if you just search that in the Facebook search bar, the group will come up. And that's just a place for high achievers who are looking to reach their goals and become better at being themselves. It's a nice, fun space to be. So find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adrienne. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.